Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat datang ke Apa Cerita Podcast bersama saya Anwar.
Saya Izzat.
Dan anda kembali ke episod 200++. Sama juga tak ingat dalam episod berapa dah sekarang
Memang
ni.
takkan pernah ingat.
Tak akan ingat langsung.
So,
okay.
Kepada anda yang sedang mendengar podcast ini di luar sana, ketahuilah podcast ini boleh didengarkan di mana-mana platform sama ada YouTube atau Spotify dengan carian APACITER. Kalau nak tengok potongan pendek ataupun snippet, kita boleh ada di social media kita, sama ada di TikTok ataupun Instagram dengan carian apaciter.podcast.
Ya, dan jika anda ingin menceritakan anda punya pengalaman, cerita-cerita best, apa-apalah yang korang nak kongsikan, boleh kongsikan di social media kami. Tekan saja dekat bio atas tu kan, korang isi saja Google Form. Lepas tu kita pun ada ni,
apa?
Confession daripada bilik gelap.
Confession.
Confession.
Betul.
Itu pun sama juga dia punya.
Boleh isi form saja dekat kita punya link tree di social media kami. Ada je.
Yes, ada link, tekan sahaja. Okay. So
hari ni kita berdua sebab Wan dia influenza.
Aku rasa dia macam baru je influenza B.
Weh,
betul tak?
Influenza B dengan E lain
Tak tahu lah. Dia lepas ni dia AB. Dah agak lah.
Tak, dia B
so
sebelum ni.
Kuat sangat
Sebelum ni dia B. Dia naik A.
Naik A. After this?
Tak ada A plus tu.
Kasihan dia memang 3 hari dah masuk dalam kena drip air.
Baik, by the way, lagu ni lambat pula habis je. By the way, kita hari ni kita sangat berbesar hati. Kita ada seorang tetamu jemputan Wah. Boleh kau perkenalkan sikit siapa tetamu jemputan kita ni?
Yes, hanya kita nak bagi floor ni untuk dia introduce sendiri lah. So untuk frame, kita open frame.
Macam tu.
Yes, kita bersama dengan saudari Joanne. Hi, welcome to our studio.
Thank you. Hello everyone.
Yeah.
So, no, tolong betulkan
sikit.
Mic.
Kena dekat sikit.
Jap.
Okay. Yeah.
Hi Joanne, dari mana?
Okay, so I'm actually from DRA Malaysia, So I'm currently serving as a program coordinator on statelessness, also a paralegal on statelessness,
Yes.
So kita actually NGO lah, yang work on addressing statelessness, di Semenanjung terutamanya.
So kita tahu, kau tahu dah tahulah topik apa kita nak bincangkan. Hari ni kita nak membincangkan satu topik yang agak serius jugalah aku kata.
Berat lah, so dia punya mood kena slow sikit.
Kita nak bincangkan tentang isu stateless di Malaysia ni.
Okay.
Since Joanne memang kita jemput sebab dia terlibat sama dengan program stateless ni kan. Koordinator program kan. Dan you adalah paralegal. Paralegal buat apa maksudnya?
So basically dekat DRA ni kita receive walk-in cases atau by appointment. So yang mana individu yang impacted ni, mereka boleh datang ke office kita and dapatlah bantuan nasihat macam mana nak memohon CJ kelahiran, macam mana nak memohon kewarganegaraan, dan mereka golongan ni, actually mereka ni I would say anak tempatan tetapi kekurangan dokumentasi atau lack of some, I would say mereka ni berkaitan dengan Malaysia. Mereka ini mempunyai talian hubungan dengan Malaysia. Either parents mereka, like the father is Malaysian, the mother is foreigner, macam tu. Tetapi kekurangan dokumentasi lah, mereka tidak boleh mendapatkan kewarganegaraan, tak boleh mendapatkan IC. Macam tu.
Macam contoh kekurangan dokumentasi. Maksudnya apa tu?
Okay, maksudnya some of them mereka memang tiada pendaftaran perkahwinan. So anak mereka apabila ibu merupakan warga asing, bapa merupakan warga negara Malaysia, tetapi tidak mendaftarkan perkahwinan, maksudnya anaknya tidak boleh mendapatkan IC.
Dia bukan automatically dapat.
Tak, kita tak work macam ni dekat Malaysia.
Alright.
So we will follow the mother's nationality. So kita akan assume anak ni non-Malaysian. So apabila masalah timbul is when ibu tersebut telah menghilangkan diri or telah meninggal dunia. So ataupun bapa Malaysia tu sudah meninggal dunia. So it's like a lot of complexity. It's not that easy actually, but as long as you step out and move to settlekan document, there's a peluang, there's a chance. Macam tu.
What if ibu dia Malaysia, pasangan dia bukan orang Malaysia, so macam mana tu?
So as I mentioned just now, nationality to follow the mothers. So like for me, example, I'm Malaysian, even though I tak kahwin pun, I mean for like non-Muslim, like we didn't get married, the children still follow our nationality. Macam tu lah, just an example. So my conclusion is the nationality will follows the mother.
Alright.
Tapi bukan ada isu yang kalau mothers Malaysian tapi anak lahir di luar negara.
That one is another part of the story. But sekarang actually mereka boleh memohon warga negara because before there is an amendment happening last year, so they already passed the amendment. So actually mereka sudah ada pathway untuk mendaftarkan anak-anak mereka as a warga negara. There is another pathway for that. But for DRA, kita tak fokus sangat mother. We would say this one is children born overseas by Malaysian mother. Dekat DRA sekarang ni kita tak fokus banyak sangat sebab kita ada NGO lain yang akan involve in these matters lah.
So basically case yang selalu you handle macam mana?
Case yang saya selalu handle ni either children born pre-marriage, yang children born tetapi tidak mendaftarkan perkahwinan. I mean the mother is warga asing lah. And of course the majority case is this. Another second category is adoption children, which they are adopted but sebabkan last time a lot of misinformation, even though I would say sampai hari ini, if we have the chance to do like social experiment kan, when we ask the public how to adopt a child, I would say they don't know, they don't aware. So last time memang ada banyak adoptive parents lah yang buat mistake dalam proses anak angkat tu. So they only found out the whole thing when the child turns 12 years old. So which mean when mereka nak pergi buat IC tu kena tahan lah, not kena tahan, like kena siasat. Because the muka lain berbeza dengan adoptive parent. Baru mereka found out, actually I did not do the adoption process correctly. Macam tu. And also kita ada another category is foundlings. So yang bayi dekat bayi terbuang and abandoned child lah. Yang tu pun ada yang betul-betul tiada informasi. I mean we know that they are born in some care home in Malaysia, but the thing is we can't prove they are here. They are born here, you know. So a lot of agak rumit actually. Complex. Yes.
Tapi bila fikir balik macam kesian kalau ada anak yang terbuang, parents tak anak dia. Lepas tu ada orang kutip, dah lah tak kenal parents, and then dalam masa yang sama dia tak ada IC, nak masuk pendidikan pun tak boleh access pendidikan.
Apa kesan untuk someone yang memang tak ada IC dekat Malaysia ni?
So kita sekarang ni, kita golongan yang kita cakap hari ni, mereka as I mentioned, mereka ialah memang lahir, and because a lot of stigma actually going around when we talk about statelessness, the first thing first, orang akan kaitkan, mereka ni orang asing. No, actually not correct. They are actually
dulu lah.
And they will say like, mereka tu refugee. No, actually refugee, most of them mereka ada UNHCR card. Tapi for stateless ni, I would say lack of documentation. Mereka ni memang apa-apa pun tak ada.
Tak boleh buat apa.
Tak ada apa.
So kalau dalam dompet tu duit tak ada, bawang. Keluar orang rama je lah dia.
Tak ada apa. So usually the stateless people, stateless individual, what they do is if they have ongoing application, mereka akan photostat satu receipt je yang keluar daripada JPN tu. Sebab once you submit your application, JPN atau KDN, mereka akan keluarkan receipt tu yang membuktikan kamu ni memang ada ongoing application. You submit. So usually mereka ni just hanya photostat tu simpan dalam dompet je. Pergi mana-mana, ditahan oleh polis ke apa tunjuk je. So
dia macam kes ni lah. Kalau IC hilang, kita kena pergi dekat polis.
Tapi yang tu, yang surat tu ada identity semua kan. Yang surat ni receipt je. So which mean your application number and your name. Yang tu je. Tak ada nombor, tak ada apa-apa. Yang kita akan ada nombor IC kan. Mereka ni tak ada. So this is one thing.
Boleh ke Joanne kongsikan sikit kes-kes yang pernah Joanne handle before ni?
Actually banyak if I nak cerita.
Satu kes yang macam mungkin paling menarik ataupun paling you rasa benda ni boleh diceritakan untuk mungkin pengajaran.
I ada satu case tapi I tak nak cakap like too details lah. Just a very one. Actually, this case, these children actually taken care by the nanny. Okay, so babysitter lah. Okay, so the mother is Malaysian, and then the father is also I can't remember the nationality of the father, but as long as the mother is Malaysian. The children should be Malaysian. Right? But the mother placed these children in the nanny home, but never come back.
Okay.
And no birth cert. The nanny is Malaysian. Okay. So the nanny was like, I can't find the mother. Why not? Because sudah lama, they already taken care the child around 7 years. I can't remember the year. Sudah lama, so like they keep waiting for the mother to come lah. But unfortunately, the mother didn't appear. So the nanny also sangat baik hati. They reach out to us. They wanted us to help in adoption process. So when kita pun then okay, very good. Since the child is only like 7 years old. That time I think is 5 or 6 years old. Then kita tolong lah buat procedure. We bagi nasihat, we bring her to JKM to buat adoption. And then tengok found out JPN tu dapat menggesan identity ibu dia.
Okay.
So we was like, we very happy. We want to go and reach out to the mother lah. Tetapi mother tu tak nak kerjasama. Dia sudah
jumpa pun tak nak.
And then after that she also very unhappy that we reach out to her. We found her. She just don't want this child, I assume.
Dia tak nak apa-apa,
dia tak nak apa-apa. Dia tak nak child ini. So dia pun tak nak mengaku child ini is her child.
Sad.
So she just we also don't know how the next step actually. Then what we heard is that JPN actually will go and meet her. We don't know. Like they told that they will go and cari the ibu lah. But until today, I don't know how the process now. So it's like sometimes ini bukan macam mereka tak nak tolong sendiri tau. It's like it's like we don't know how to help them. Something like that.
And then the kids now umur berapa?
I think it's already 8 years old.
Dah start sekolah. Tu tak sekolah lah.
Tak sekolah kot. I don't know. Like we also didn't manage to follow up anymore. Because sometimes when mereka ni tak nak, kita tak boleh macam force. Like we have to respect them also.
Kalau pihak tu sendiri tak nak bertanggungjawab ataupun tak nak beri sesama, kita nak cakap apa?
So this what I'm telling is not about the laws, it's not about the procedure itself, it's about the human itself. So sometimes they don't want to help themselves, kita pun susah nak step in untuk tolong.
Okay. Okay, bila kita cakap pasal situation of statelessness ni kan, tak ada apa orang negara ni kan, orang akan selalu cakap pasal Sabah.
Yeah.
Okay. So apa perbezaannya yang terjadi, apa yang situasi yang Joanne hadapi dengan apa yang ada dekat Sabah tu? Apa perbezaan dia?
Okay, dekat Sabah ni I would say amat kompleks.
Okay.
Ya. Sebab dia melibatkan generasi nenek moyang, is like a lot of generasi. Yeah, and then because Sabah sangat dekat dengan negara Philippines, Indonesia, so there might be mixed marriage. Yeah, and then some more usually ini melibatkan orang asli. Yeah, maybe it's very hard for us to reach out to them. And then some more wanting geography. Sebab kan Sabah sangat besar.
Ya, betul.
And JPN pun agak limited lah, yang cawangan JPN tu agak limited. So it's not everyone that boleh travel all the way to the town, to register a birth cert. It will cost a lot of money and a lot of time. So usually this is I would say the jurang. Yeah. And then for Semenanjung, I would say everything teratur. Like JPN pun ada banyak cawangan. Tetapi I rasa mungkin sebab something like stigma. Some of them will feel malu. And one more thing is like some of them akan rasa benda ni terlalu kompleks.
Okay.
Dia tak tahu macam mana nak start.
Renyah sangat.
Ya, dia tak tahu macam mana nak start, macam mana bermula. Yeah. So I would say there is a difference there. Yeah.
Tapi ada lah, macam ada juga lah, maksudnya segelintir kat sana yang reach out to you.
Ya, ada. Yeah. For example lah, like schooling, education. If for Sabah, memang ada banyak macam sekolah alternative and community atau NGO yang akan buat kelas untuk stateless dekat Sabah kan. Tapi in Semenanjung, we just talk about Klang Valley. We cannot see any sekolah. I mean, we only have one or two, but not that much as Sabah. Yeah, so this is the different. And a lot of people also, I mean the public, mereka ada mindset macam stateless ni only happens in rural areas.
Ya, betul.
Yeah, actually no. In city itself, Klang Valley ke, macam for example lah, sebab kita punya office based in PJ kan. In PJ itself also, we got a lot actually. A lot of cases. Yeah, just that whether mereka ni nak reach out to you ke tak je. Yeah, macam ni.
Kat bandar pun banyak juga.
Bandar banyak, like KL, Selangor, like Klang, Shah Alam, ada je. Just that usually golongan stateless ni, mereka, they will stay in the shadow. They won't easily come out. Even though like we know there's a lot of happenings, you know, we always wanted to try to get attention from the public, but agak susah sebab mereka tak nak voice out the issue. I also understand that because like tak ada IC kan,
malu.
Like malu, and also a lot of people will feel like, oh, you are foreigner, is it, like a lot of, you know, the pandangan from orang lain agak different. So I think this is, I can understand them. I think this is why like they remain silent. Mereka tak berani nak stand up untuk voice out sendiri.
Betul lah, ingat bila waktu YB Menteri KDN present pasal kes isu yang tak dapat IC, stateless tak dapat IC, dan dia janji untuk dapatkan IC untuk settlekan kes ni. Bila baca komen, ramai yang cakap, oh inilah nak bagi IC pada pendatang.
Betul.
Tapi sebenarnya di lapangan sebenar banyak kes-kes yang macam dia adalah original, memang mak ayah parents adalah orang Malaysia tapi tak dapat IC. You pernah tak handle kes yang mungkin dah dewasa, umur atas 18 tahun?
Ada juga, like yang I would say every human kan ada, kita human, kita mestilah ada cita-cita sendiri kan. So when it comes to adult, a lot of thing because of you lack of a piece of IC, you tak boleh buat. Yeah. So you have to know that if you tak ada IC ni macam satu kunci tau. Kunci masa depan, I would say. So it's like you tak ada IC, benda-benda simple you pun tak boleh access. For example, I sekarang cakap yang simple lah, bukan education this one lah. Like e-wallet, touch and go. Sebab you tak ada IC, you know, like how you verify yourself. You know, like everything have to take IC, you know, a lot of things mereka tak boleh buat. Macam belikan SIM card. SIM card kita boleh SIM card kita boleh beli je dekat 7-Eleven ke apa sebab kita ada IC, tangkap gambar upload. Tapi mereka tak boleh. So it's like very simple thing tapi mereka tak boleh buat. Yeah, so like for schooling for example, for remaja lah especially, mereka boleh access education actually with the syarat that you ada sijil kelahiran yang mempunyai maklumat bapa warga negara. Ya, kadang-kadang sijil kelahiran tu, some of the case mereka punya bapa akan di kolom pemberitahuan. Ya.
Ini konteks sekolah kebangsaan.
Which one?
SK ke? Sekolah kebangsaan
yeah. I'm talking about government school.
Okay.
Yeah. So government school, if you ada sijil kelahiran yang mempunyai nama bapa di kolom apa ni?
Pemberitahuan.
Bukan, di bapa tu. Then you can actually access school. Government school. You boleh, dulu kita ada UPSR, ada PMR semua. You boleh access actually. Just that every month you perlu bayar levy fees. So it's 120 ringgit.
Oh pula.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like 120 ringgit every year and 240 ringgit for SMK every year. 120 ringgit is for sekolah rendah lah. Yeah. And then 240 is yearly. For yearly. Okay. But just to note that a lot of stateless golongan ni, mereka adalah underprivileged group. Okay. So when you see it's like 120 ringgit, it's actually very cheap for you and me, but for them, imagine they got 2 children, 3 children that is stateless. They have to pay this yearly. Okay, fine, pay this, maybe they can afford, but how about textbook? Sebab mereka ni tak boleh menerima subsidi, tak boleh subsidi textbook, tak boleh. Yeah, so this is why in DRA kita pun ada satu library lah kita create, okay. Of course is funded and kita ada textbook lah yang core subject. So maksudnya mereka yang impacted children ni, mereka boleh datang ke office kita untuk meminjam. Yeah, and then the end of the year perlu pulangkan balik lah macam tu. Yeah, so it's actually a cost for them, a beban for them. Yeah, and then remaja university macam mana?
Wow, gila pening.
So I actually ada contact sebab I ada assist cases. So usually macam mereka ni teringin nak pergi sekolah, like want to go to university lah. So I will try my best also. I will bring them to university that which they interested. So I will really go with them and then I will just bring them to the admission board and then I will explain lah, because mereka ni tak pandai nak explain situasi mereka. So I explain to them. Some of them are really lucky, they really get enrolled. But the thing is, mereka perlu bayar the yuran sendiri.
Bayar lagi kan?
Yeah. Imagine you want to do a degree. Yang ni I tengah cakap ni university swasta tau, bukan government university ya. So university swasta, you imagine how is the cost? Yeah, so not everyone can afford. Yeah, PTN memang tak boleh lah yang tu sebab perlukan IC. Yeah, so this is actually what happening, and also tak boleh buka bank account.
Okay, so kalau dia nak access education in university, yang private.
Yes.
So dia nak pakai duit apa? Yang boleh apa salah satu channel yang mungkin ada probability untuk help them? Apa?
You mean in terms of bank account?
Ya, bank accounts ke ataupun education funds ke, siapa yang boleh bantu?
I would say it depends, because some of the NGO they really NGO will really help funded like yes. I yang ni I pernah jumpa lah. Tapi most of the time, no. They will just remain silent, stay home, do part-time work. Even part-time, buat kerja part-time pun, actually a lot of, if they lucky, they met majikan yang sangat baik tu, okay lah, boleh tolong. Tapi usually I would say, mereka yang majikan tu mereka akan take advantage of them because tak ada dokumen kan, then I hire you,
bayar murah je lah kan.
I will just maybe I janji I akan bagi you this amount, tetapi after you end your work I won't pay you this amount. Something like that. And then of course tak ada perlindungan lah, macam SOKSO, KWSP yang ni memang tak ada.
Tadi yang cakap pasal CJ lahir ada, bapa ada nama bapa, tapi nama mak tak ada.
Usually case ni nama mak ada, tapi nama mak ada dalam tu, and then the birth cert will be bukan warga negara. Sekarang ni sekolah tu allowed when the father punya status warga negara dekat birth cert tu, then you can apply for school. Macam tu.
So dalam kes tu dia bukan warga negara lah.
I would say supposed to, sebab mereka ni tak ada pendaftaran perkahwinan yang sah. So if you the wife is, the mother is foreigner, the father is Malaysian, when there is perkahwinan yang sah, tak ada timbul masalah macam ini. So what I'm talking about is tiada pendaftaran perkahwinan yang sah. And then the birth cert will be bukan warga negara. So the school will only accept, okay, bukan warga negara tahu, but the father punya details tu dekat kolom bapa tu lah, and the father must be Malaysian. Then the school will accept. Then you can bayar levy and you can go to school.
So kalau contoh kes yang parents tak ada CJ pernikahan yang sah, and then macam mana nak mendaftarkan anak tu?
There is some ways, I would say. Sometimes yang last resort, we will actually, if the mother is still here, then the last resort is maybe kemungkinan dia perlu follow the mother's nationality. If really. But usually there are times where the mother punya country tak boleh pass on citizenship tu dekat children dia pun ada, sebab laws and regulations. So it become very complex. So it depends.
Dia ada dua lah pengajaran. Satu, kau jangan malas nak settlekan kau punya CJ kahwin. Yang kedua, kau jangan kahwin ke Thailand.
Aku pun nak cakap benda sama. Sebab kalau kahwin kat Thailand,
dia
lepas
dah
tu
jadi problem.
Tak settle dekat Malaysia, tak daftar.
Betul. Sebab apa? Sebab dia orang takut nak kena dam. Orang cakap bila kita kahwin kat Thailand, kita kena dam.
Ada kes yang dia kena kahwin semula.
Sebab dia kata tak valid
tak
kan.
Sah. Betul.
So itu bagus juga Joanne cakap benda ni. Semua orang takut nak kahwin kat Thailand.
Itu satu kes. Kalau kes yang kedua, bini pertama, bini kedua dia kahwin kat sana.
Dia tak dapat valid apa kan? Dia tak dapat keizinan.
Mungkin jadi isu yang sama.
A lot of different, so issue statelessness ni tak ada standard tau. I would say a lot of different story, the outcome will be different, the procedure akan different. So a lot of things, I would say pendaftaran perkahwinan amat penting, especially you married foreigners. I know the process to when you marry a foreigners, when your wife, your spouse, the wife lah, I would say the wife is foreigner. I know the the application process is sangat complicated. You have to go to Putrajaya, you have to go to embassy, have to balik to your wife country and everything. But all this process will secure that your child is a Malaysian. Unless you don't want your child to be a Malaysian, you are not planning to stay here, then it's another story. But if you have the intention to stay here, you have to register perkahwinan. Sangat penting kertas itu.
Dengar tu guys.
I teringat ada satu movie Abang Adik. You tengok kan?
Yes.
Cerita kau tengok tak Abang Adik? Dia Chinese, cerita pasal seorang
yang dia punya
buta
penjaga
pekak
satu
abang dia
satu
pekak.
bisu.
Aku ingatkan cerita ni ayah saya, uncle tu bukan.
Okay, itu tuan angkat.
Abang adik tu yang
adik dia okey, abang dia yang pekak. Ada bisu. So dua-dua tak ada stateless kan, tapi lahir kat Malaysia.
Something lebih kurang lah story macam ni. Tapi abang adik tu actually kita ada mereka ada consult before making the movie. So if you see the behind, I mean when it's ending, actually ada credit lah.
Tak
So
perasan.
it credited lah, like they did a consultation with us, like how actually what happening. But the one that shows in the movie actually just a part of it. Actually in the lapangan, in the reality, it's like a lot more, like a lot. Even though me myself, I work in this area, this field, sometimes I pun pening tau, like macam mana nak tolong. I have this situation lah.
Kalau situation parents yang both parents masih ada, tak ada masalah
both parents if ada, tak ada masalah.
Kalau dia jadi isu, kalau
the mother is foreigner and the mother hilangkan diri, or the father Malaysian already passed away.
So itu kita kena pegang benda tu je lah Okay. So Joanne dah duduk dalam field ni berapa lama? Berapa tahun?
I started to join DRA when I was because I got a law background. So when I was doing my law degree, I sudah join DRA lah as a volunteer. And then after that, once I study law, but I just tak rasa sangat lah. You tengok you tengok karakter I rasa I tak sesuai dalam lawyer field. So I was like, maybe I should switch myself away. Like I try human rights. So this is why I started my journey. And then sudah too attached. Sekarang I nak change field pun I rasa tak selesa lah.
Dah berapa tahun? 5 tahun? 6 tahun?
I think 3 years plus 4 years.
Okay, kita dah merdeka berapa tahun dah? 68 betul?
Orang tanya ni kira-kira
kira-kira 68 years old lah. Kita punya ni kita merdeka. Okay, kerajaan sekarang kan, apa yang you rasa nampak mungkin step yang baik lah untuk this kind of problem? Ada tak yang you rasa macam berbeza dengan sebelum ni ke apa ke?
Okay, I would say the recent kerajaan, the recent government, I memang ada tengok lah ada usahanya, you know, yang ongoing usaha. Sebab ramai yang layak ini, mereka sudah mendapatkan keputusan yang baik lah, which mean they already got their kewarganegaraan. And then I personally, because we do have walk-in cases yang tadi I mention kan, so memang kadar kelulusan ini agak tinggi at the moment. Like for me, I would say as long as kamu put in application dengan lengkap, then there is chance for you to get your documents as now lah. So I would say it's a better positive steps lah at the moment. And then I also see that kan JPN ada introduce program Mekah yang mereka turun padang, you know, to the rural areas to set up mobile
program Mekah. MEKAR
if I'm not mistaken. So they set up macam a van, you know, they will do. It's a van or some bus, I can't remember. So mereka akan really turun ke padang untuk meregisterkan orang-orang asli, orang kampung dekat itu. Tetapi I pun faham sebab kan kawasan macam rural areas very big and this one maybe kekangan, you know, tenaga, you know, tenaga pekerja or anything. So cannot cover every place lah. But I would say like at the moment memang ada positive step lah. Sebab ramai pun yang kita reach out, I mean our cases, when we call, we want follow up. And then they say, oh, I already got my result. I already berjaya. Macam tu.
Okay, previously kita nampak kes-kes macam ni sangat susah untuk di-prove. Apa yang menyebabkan sekarang the current government proses tu lebih cepat? Sebab macam orang di logik orang awam, orang akan rasa macam macam nak bagi IC je dekat semua orang. Nak bagi IC je kat orang
macam untuk ambil undi. Perspektif dari situ.
Sebab I rasa stigma itu masih ada lagi.
Ada lagi. Tapi pun stigma ada lagi, and some of them I would say they will thought that this only happens in a certain agama saja, for example. Actually no, like you have this lack of document, then lack of documents, lack of this paper, one of the paper, then you have the possibility that you cannot get your IC. So the stigma is still there. But I would say now a lot of improvements. As long as you put in your application, as long as it's lengkap, as long as you are layak, you will get your your document. Just that maybe the time issue.
Kalau ikut statistik yang I dapat ni, sebanyak 17,385 permohonan kewarganegaraan di bawah perkara 15A Perlembagaan Persekutuan telah diluluskan oleh KDN dari 1 Januari 2023 hingga 30 Jun 2025.
Januari 2 tahun lebih je lah.
2 tahun lebih.
2 tahun lebih sahaja.
Betul. Dan KDN sebenarnya mensasarkan untuk proses sekurang-kurangnya 10,000 permohonan taraf kewarganegaraan dalam setahun. Maksudnya selesaikan 10,000 kes dalam masa setahun.
And then please note that like 15A kan, actually yang ni kebanyakan mereka ni under 18 years old. So kanak-kanak lah. So when they are settled, then we can actually selesaikan sebahagian yang akan menjadi stateless, so it's very good progression I would say.
Ada ini program yang daripada KDN atau government yang you rasa sangat bagus dan perlu dikembangkan lagi untuk orang tahu?
Saya pada Mekar.
I would say if the Mekar, if they keep continue doing it, not only for the rural area, maybe expand to maybe the urban areas, I mean like the city areas and everything, then also it will benefit.
Ke patutnya dia orang bekerjasama dengan NGO? Untuk besarkan lagi coverage.
Maybe menggerakkan hubungan, I mean like menciptakan ruang untuk NGO involved. Maybe sesi taklimat ke, perbincangan, discussion, the exchange the knowledge. Because I would say a lot of NGO like us, we work on the grounds, kita first hand. When they have something, I would say like the community, when they have something, they will either reach out to NGO that they know or their YBs and aduns in their area. So we are actually the first hand. We know what happenings in what's the situation on the ground. So if there is a chance that maybe the kerajaan can take in account and work with us, we have the chance to work with them, I feel like a lot of things can be done quicker.
Okay, disebabkan oleh Joanne cakap tadi NGO adalah first hand untuk benda ni kan. Adakah NGO macam mana NGO membantu juga untuk awareness kepada orang pasal perkara ni, pasal pasal statement ataupun stigma mengatakan bahawa pemberian IC ni sebenarnya bukannya disebabkan oleh satu-satu reason yang tertentu, nak beli undi ke apa ke. Ada tak cara ataupun NGO macam pernah duduk sekali fikir?
For us, we do like advocacy, maybe workshop ke macam tu, or maybe sometimes we get involved dalam public, we will set up a booth ke we will try our best in Indra lah, I'm saying. We will try our best to carry out, to create awareness, like to not membetulkan, is to like to
guide,
to guide them, like actually what happening, this is not foreigners, and we will try our best in different ways. Social media, one thing, social media campaign, and I will hope the public try to understand first. For example, I can give you like my PR, the red IC. A lot of people, they will see my PR, they are foreigners. Actually, no. Some of them who are this group of stateless people, but they are holding my PR. For example, last time I do have cases that they are actually adopted.
Okay,
but she holding a my PR. So mereka tidak tahulah actually My PR ni boleh dikeluarkan daripada pejabat JPN. Because usually we will think My PR foreigners kad ini dikeluarkan oleh Jabatan Immigration, right?
Okay,
right?
Okay.
Yeah, so there is a stigma there, like yeah, but I feel like it needs time to to I don't know, educate education, yeah.
Takes time lah. Tapi memang kalau macam sebagai dengan apa yang kita bincang sekarang ni pun kan, saya pun tak tahu yang mengatakan apa yang stateless ni dia banyak juga terjadi di kawasan-kawasan bandar khususnya. So kalau macam saya ni, saya adalah seorang yang macam mungkin saya terlalu kecil pemikiran saya. Bila when it comes to stateless ni, saya fikir pasal orang Sabah lah, yang kes-kes Sabah tu. Tapi saya pun tak tahu juga pasal yang kat Klang Valley ni pun kita banyak juga kes-kes macam ni.
Sebenarnya kita boleh katakan privilege lah. Kita ada privilege untuk ada IC. Even though IC saja itu adalah privilege kita. Sekarang pun dah terbukti. Budi 95. IC tu sangat berharga.
Yes. Jangan ada IC chip rosak je.
Itu walaupun ialah simple, tapi IC itulah yang melayakkan kita
untuk rasa subsidi tu.
Betul.
Dengan lagi banyak bantuan lagi SARA, mereka asing. Betul. Macam
Joanne katalah, tak ada IC tak boleh nak beli SIM card. Aku macam betul lah, kalau tak ada IC kita tak boleh nak beli SIM card.
Benda yang sesimpel itu pun kita tak dapat.
Macam
betul.
Kita kan sekarang suka shopping online,
betul.
Kan? Shopee Pay ke, Shopee Pay later ke.
Nak kena register, kena pakai IC.
Semua tak boleh.
Tapi kalau personal loan boleh ke? Personal loan, Syak loan?
Tak boleh lah.
Boleh lah.
Yang tu I tak pernah ada feedback lagi.
Tapi Syak loan bukan dia nak IC ke?
Bukan bank. Tapi bank pun tak ada. Memang ada
bank pun tak ada. Macam mana bagi?
Betul lah.
A lot of things that we taken for granted.
Betul.
Yang hari-hari kita guna ni, kita biasa ni. Ramai orang yang tanpa IC ni, mereka tidak boleh menikmati. Macam MySara. And as I mentioned just now kan, kebanyakan mereka ni golongan underprivileged, maybe B40. Mereka mungkin really need the bantuan. Tapi because of a piece of paper, or like they don't have IC but ada MyPR for example. MyPR tak boleh tak boleh menerima subsidi tau. I mean for the MySara or the Budi 95. So they are stateless, but they have a card, but they still cannot access like what we access.
Dia macam kalau buat macam imagine kan, dia lahir kat sini, tapi disebabkan dia punya dokumen tu tak lengkap, and then dia masa tu dia macam mungkin dia tak ada duit sangat. Tengok dia dengar our PM cakap, untuk bulan Malaysia ni kita akan bagi RM100 untuk semua orang rakyat Malaysia kan. And then dia pun mesti dia akan aku lahir kat sini bro.
Betul.
Aku lahir kat sini, tapi mungkin salah aku adalah mungkin dokumen lah. And nasib dia lah tak sama macam orang lain kan. Dia tak ada benda tu. Sedih weh.
Betul lah. Sebab bila aku tengok cerita abang adik tu macam susah ni. Abang adik ni kalau kau ingat cerita dia bekerja keras untuk kumpul duit. Nak buat apa? Nak cari orang untuk beli kat IC. Sebab dia nak mencari parents tak jumpa. Cerita ni kau tak ingat Lupa dah.
Abang adik tak tengok lagi bro.
Kau tak tengok lagi, patutlah.
It's available in Netflix.
Okay.
Promo abang adik.
Okay, tak tengok lagi.
Aku rasa abang adik antara movie yang paling mudah untuk kita faham tentang isu stateless ni.
Ada tak lagi cerita Malaysia yang mungkin kita boleh jadikan rujukan?
Songlap.
I think there is a drama, Malay drama dekat TV3. I can't remember the name.
TV3 pukul 7 lah. Kalau pukul 7 cinta Joanne.
Songlap bukan pasal ada stateless kan?
Aku selalu betul
Songlap ada movie, local movie. Songlap tak silap dia memang cerita pasal stateless juga. Part of it.
So kalau macam sebagai penutup ni, orang cakap kalau siapa nak tengok mungkin sedikit reality of orang-orang budak-budak yang macam ada masalah statelessness ni, boleh tengok cerita abang adik lah.
Betul.
Itu pun sikit je kan lagi kan.
Yeah,
Dia tak deep lagi.
Yeah, but it's very good movie for you to just understand you understand the surface first, and then you continue your research, then you will know more and more and more.
That's why susah untuk dapatkan IC untuk stateless. Sebab isu documentation yang tak ada tu.
Yeah. And then sometimes the orang penting sudah meninggal. For example, the orang penting I would say is the father, Malaysian father. When it comes to the children born pre-marriage, the father is the key person. But when the father already meninggal, then macam mana nak prove dia memang lahir dekat sini dan isteri ni memang isteri
betul.
So it's like a lot of things.
Itu kalau meninggal. Kalau yang macam kes Joanne tadi yang masih ada tapi
tapi tak nak,
itu lagi complicated.
Lagi
bayangkan dia hidup, dia budak-budak lagi, tak dapat akses pendidikan. Mungkin dapat lah kan, tapi kena bayar dengan harga yang tinggi. Parents mak dia tak terima dia, sedih.
And then tak boleh adopt dia sebab mak still ada. Bukan tak boleh dikesan. If tak boleh dikesan, kita boleh lah, to maybe hire a lawyer or anything. But because the mother is still here, still dalam sistem. So macam mana you nak just adopt, like overlap the mother punya permission. So this is also another thing. Yeah, this is not about the law, okay? This is really about us, the feelings, the humans.
Sedih.
Yeah.
Lastly lah, Joanne, boleh you kongsikan apa ni, kalau orang di luar sana yang mungkin berhadapan dengan situation yang sama, apa advice you? Mungkin boleh pergi ke DRA ataupun whatever.
Shout out to DRA.
Yeah, maybe yes. Like for me, I would say if you have the chance to apply, you boleh apply. Just apply your your document, citizenship, sijil kelahiran. Don't give up when tidak berjaya ke apa. Sebab you pun tak nak macam you sudah dapat IC, then baru you start your whole journey, For example, like if you have the chance to study, please go ahead, continue. If you have some skills that you ada macam baking ke, you pandai jahit ke, just continue. I know there is some restriction ke, tak boleh buka, perniagaan sendiri ke apa. Yang tu kita set aside first. Just do what you love, and then just don't control the things that you cannot control. Focus on things that you can control. Focus on the things that you love. Yeah, so I know, all of these are not under your kawalan, not under your control. But I would say, if you step out, one move, maybe it will selesaikan satu hari nanti. Because just the time only. Yeah.
Alright, ada anything apa yang you nak sampaikan?
I would say, just now a very good point. Abang Adik movie pointed out that they kumpulkan money and then nak bayar agent kan. Untuk, there is actually no agent, Tak ada orang ketiga, orang tengah ke apa untuk settlekan dokumen kamu. Yeah. So everything you must go through the JPN, the proper way. No shortcut, nothing. Because this is not something that money can buy. And you tahu tak, like when you nak memohon sesuatu lah, for example, sijil kelahiran, you actually have to hadir di kaunter atau cawangan JPN tersebut. Tak boleh ada macam agent ke. Even tu kita NGO, paralegal, kita pun tak boleh ambil form tu on behalf of you.
Okay.
Yeah. So you cannot like, maybe you pay this person 500 ringgit or they guarantee akan bagi you document. No, it's no such thing. So everything you must go your own. Yeah. So this is a very important thing because I do have cases. Mereka tak nak percaya dia cakap I scammer, padahal dia sudah bayar duit kepada agent dia untuk settlekan dokumen. So I would say there's no agent, no shortcut, true proper way to get your documents.
Takut nanti kalau you guys korang ada orang cakap dia boleh bagi benda tu, tengok dia bagi foto state je.
Dia
edit, lepas tu dia bagi foto state je.
Case yang I ni, foto state pun tak ada apa-apa pun tak ada tau. But she believe that the person will help her. So
kira last kali tu dia cakap, oh sorry lah, I dah cuba semua benda lah, tak dapat lah. Bayar macam tu je.
Betul, setuju. Sekali lagi, terima kasih kepada Joanne datang ke studio kami untuk bincang tentang satu isu yang agak berat sebenarnya.
Perkongsian yang sangat-sangat menarik dan bagi saya berat dan membuka mata orang ramai kat luar sana lah. Thank you so much Joanne sebab datang ke our studio yang kecil-kecil ni je. Tak ada apa pun sangat.
No, it's very comfy.
Thank you.
It's very nice studio.
Okay guys, pada anda semua yang mendengar, cuba korang komen sekejap dekat bawah, beritahu pada anda, pada kami apa pandangan korang pasal benda-benda macam ni. Mungkin korang pun ada juga pengalaman berinteraksi ataupun berkawan dengan orang-orang yang ada masalah benda ni.
Betul.
Cuba cerita sikit pengalaman anda di bawah. Okay, we will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you guys. Bye bye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye bye.